Good morning. Yeah, have you got yours? So I'm going to start time stamping my videos. I don't know. Tuesday, the 15th of August. There, I did it. So, what's going on today? Well, the first thing is I'm wondering how the weather is affecting everybody that's out there in the repair business and the do-it-yourselfers and all the other stuff. Because here in my area, people aren't mowing their yards because it's getting pretty wet. My yard is about 2 acres up to the house, and right now it looks like a rice paddy that I'm raising rice out there. And the only way I'm going to be able to cut that yard is if I somehow attach floaties to the side of my zero turn and maybe use a propulsion off from the wheels, put paddles on them so I can go up and down the yard. But it's not that way everywhere. My heart goes out to the folks in Hawaii and the folks that from Alabama to PA, they got hit with the tornadoes and hurricanes and everything else. It's not nothing new, but we're all still saddened by it, the news. So if you're out there in that neck of the woods, we got you. So that brings me to I had a great conversation with a good friend yesterday that I hadn't heard from in about a year. And he's a sales rep for one of the distributors. He got us our start in the business. He took a chance on us, is what he did. We started off with small orders, but I needed credit when I first started. I needed some credit to build, and he got it. And he took us to superstar stardom, and we took him right along with us, right up there. And we went from nobodies to one of your top selling companies for small engine parts online. And we had done this, for 4 or 5 years, and every year, it was getting close to $1 million gross in parts, not net, gross, just from online parts. And the repair side of the shop was extra. If we got business, we got business, because I had 4 or 5 people, printing out labels, shipping and packing and hauling it to the post office on a daily basis every morning. And he was telling me of a recent promotion of where instead of doing part of a state, he's got 3 states now. But he may have 3 states, but the level of sales isn't even close to what he had when he had a smaller territory then and how it is now. And he was trying to figure it out. He was calling to see how we were doing. He wanted to know if I still had Claude as an employee. And I said, yeah, I still got the grumpy old man. And he was calling just to do a wellness check to see how we were doing. I said, we're doing great, And he wanted to know, since he was no longer our sales rep, basically how we were getting parts. And I explained to him, I said, I tried telling you this back when we started shifting. And that is when eBay was the first one to open up the floodgates of allowing the Chinese to sell directly to the consumer. COVID was the intro into YouTubers showing how people could fix their own since they were locked in their own houses. And instead of tearing each other apart like animals, they were watching YouTube videos, shorts, how to do this, how to do that. So I saw two different things going on at the same time. Amazon followed shortly after, allowing the Chinese sellers into their venue, which I never thought would happen. But eBay was getting such an increase in revenue, Amazon was looking at, we need to capitalize on this. See, it's all about money. It's not about doing what's best for you and me. It's all about money. That's the sad thing, is corporate is greed. Can't put it any other way. I mean, it's all right to go after the money, but not if you're going to step on a bunch of people to do it. They say, well, that's competition. All right. How's it working for you? But with Amazon finally allowing them in, I explained to my friend on the phone, I said, look, we went from competing with other dealers and distributors to competing against a country that was willing to take a loss for as long as it took to wipe everybody out. And it was calculated. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. And these businesses knew it, but didn't have the right people in to make the changes that they needed to change. It all comes back to the corporate world and where their manufacturing is taking place. I think if people were to be truthfully honest, you would find out that there are warehouses out there packed right full of parts. Well, wait a minute, we got a bunch of back orders, but not on those parts. We got a ton of those. We invested here so that we could get our money back over the year to allocate more money to buy the next group of parts. And that's how we keep working. And we base it on the prior year. All right. So the manufacturers were the first to do it. They went to other countries, China, Poland, wherever. So China went after the manufacturer by stealing their technology and building sister plants, if not using the back door of the main plant to get their parts out. And what did they accomplish? Well, you saw a ground up of aftermarket parts companies start hitting the business. I mean, some have been around for quite a long time, but not in the scale that they are or they were 10 years ago. Because they were seeing where they could deal with China and have it come across in the boatloads, containers, stock their warehouses, and ship to the dealers. And that was great, that they had enough dealers willing to buy their parts. It kept them going. The company that my friend worked for, see, greed plays a big part. See, those guys, they got bought out by another company that's all they did was just aftermarket stuff. And then when they did that, because I was buying from both companies, but when they did that, next thing I know, I find out that they're competing directly against me on eBay, and I heard over on Amazon. I always tell people, you don't crap where you eat. Other words, why in heck would you set up an account on eBay and deal directly with your dealers that are keeping you afloat, that are paying your bills? If they don't sell their parts, then they're not going to buy it from you, right? The comeback was, well, there aren't very many dealers selling parts online. I got news for you. There's a lot of dealers selling parts online that are now stuck with your parts because of what you did, and that was you got greedy like the Chinese did. Because what did the Chinese do next? They had a handshake, crooked deal with the manufacturer. They took all the parts that they were making that were identical twins using the manufacturer's technology and sister plant. And now we're selling to these companies as aftermarkets to compete with the manufacturer. And then they started showing up on eBay where a lot of the dealers were using them to buy their parts. But the end result is two things had to happen, and that was you had the Chinese selling parts on Amazon and eBay for a little bit of nothing, and then we had COVID. COVID, you were at home and with nothing to do. No work to go with unless you were classified as essential, which we were since we were farm tractor repair. So we kept our doors open. We just did business a little differently. But that's when you had YouTube really kick into gear because people were looking for something to do. And that's when you started seeing an uptick of what they call influencers. Because what I watched there the other day was there was this one gal talking to three of, I guess, the top three influencers in our industry, and that is the repair side. They all seemed real nice, but the one that really stuck out to me was Danny Boy. He'd been doing it the longest and actually had less subscribers than the other two that they were talking to. Steve's Saloon or something, and then Chico something. But that's where they got the uptick was now they're, instead of the dealers selling the parts to the consumers and the retail settings selling parts to consumers, now the Chinese were selling directly to them. And now you have millions of people with no place to go. Why not learn something else? If your small engine repair shop isn't open for business because it's not deemed essential, and your lawnmower won't run, what do? Go on to YouTube. Punch it into the search. Lawnmower will not run. How do I fix it? And that's where YouTube also got a big jump. I mean, everybody back to work now and stuff. I mean, they're still holding a pretty good market share, but But that's where I was thinking with the intro that I had on my last video, which I'm not going to do. I'll stick with I am who I am, who I am, like Popeye. Um, is that they all had really nice videos. And I mean, when I say nice videos, somebody had done a really good job of editing them. But every one of them had, like, which I don't like in a video, is they keep telling me I have to like and subscribe to watch their video, basically. And if you're getting any value, bing that. Look, if I wanted to like and subscribe your video, I would. But don't tell me to. I'm not that type of... I do my own editing, if I do any editing. But that brings us back to... Now China has put the screws to everybody. YouTube has shown people how to fix their own stuff. And that's fine. Life changes on a daily basis, yearly basis, But I think, to bring us back to where I first started, that was with a friend of mine, sales rep, is that I think what you're finding is the manufacturer, the warehouses, distributors, and even dealers are sitting on a large amount of inventory that they can't move because they can't get down to that price point that the Chinese are selling online. Period. If a dealer, if you and I, as dealers, cannot sell the parts that we did on a pre-season order, the following year, are you going to have as big a pre-season order if you're still sitting on most of the stuff that you ordered from last year? Of course not. It's going to go way down because you don't need it. You got stuff you're sitting on now that you can't sell. And the only way you're going to sell it is by repairing something and putting that on that piece of equipment and billing the customer for it. It's the only way. I still have walk-ins for mower blades, stuff like that, but we don't. Excuse me. We don't have a lot of sales on lawnmower blades. Most people just buy them online from wherever the cheapest is. But that's what I was trying to explain to my friend that was still in the business as a sales rep over 3 states. It's not just your company. It's not just your dealers. It's happening everywhere. And that is, China played us for fools. And my hat goes off to whoever come up with it. They've got everybody's money tied up. So now they've got a free reign. They have no competition. Your distributors, your aftermarket companies, all these guys. They're not buying from China because their warehouses are full. And you say, well, what about the back orders? Well, the back orders are on newer stuff. It's not on the older stuff. It's because those companies haven't been able to sell the older stuff, so they don't have the money to reinvest into the newer stuff. That's why you have back orders. So what is the manufacturer trying to do? They're trying to change directions and go with eco-friendly, which, that's great. But you're going Husqvarna, you're going to Poland, I think it was. You don't think Poland isn't going to tell China with the technology you're using and everything you're buying your batteries basically from China? You don't think that you're not going to compete on the same arena with China in the eco stuff? Heck, China's building blades for Windmills. China's building everything. We aren't anymore. And we got sucker punched. And that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, but I'd like to know, you guys can private message me or whatever if you don't want to say, is how many of you guys are sitting on a lot of parts from your pre-season or floor planning that normally you would have sold, but you haven't in the last couple of years. And are you increasing or decreasing your ordering from your distributors and your warehouses? So on that note, guys, you guys have a great day. And like and subscribe if you find anything. I'm just kidding. Have a great day.